Okay, so the last video was a pretty good one. I kind of like it. Divs are cool, and when it comes to making full web pages, you're going to be using them a lot. But spans are, I said in the last video that divs are probably the most common used element in HTML. I think spans are a lot more rare. You don't use them that often, depending on what you're doing. I guess for certain projects, you might be using them all the time, right? It all depends what you're doing. But in my personal experience, I never really use spans that much. There's certain things that they could accomplish, but a lot of times you just won't be using them that much. For example purposes, I'm going to be using them now because I have to show you what they do. But okay, so let's go on with this. So a span is it's like a div. It's like a div, but it's inline. So it doesn't start on a new line. So divs are used to put a container around certain code, like we saw how when making like a little blog markup that we put all the articles inside a div because that it just made sense to do that. You remember that we would put b tags here. You put b tags. A span is kind of like the same thing. You put a span. Let's see what this looks like. So it doesn't do anything because kind of like the div tag, a span itself doesn't do anything. You need to give it a class, give that span a class, and I'll say blue. And then you could style the blue. So you could say color, obviously blue. And now you could do some pretty cool stuff with it, right? So let's see what else. A red. That seems the obvious choice, blue and red. So let's make a span. And this span is going to have a class of red. So let's target all reds and give it a color of red. You don't have to put a semicolon there, not when you're doing just one style, but it's good to have it just to get used to it. So it's red. Okay, let's see what else. Kind of like when I was explaining the mark tag, I changed the background color and the color. You do the same thing with hello spans. Hello span. And then I'll put span inside a span, and I'll give it an ID just because we didn't do that yet. So what am I going to do this? Just gonna call it cool. So what am I gonna do here? Some background color. Background color. I already did purple. You know, I'll do purple again, just because I can't think of another color right now. And lime. Let's see what this looks like. Silly. I put ID instead of... So that's pretty cool, actually. I kind of like that. I like how that looks. It's good, pretty good contrast. You know what else you could do? You can give it some padding. So I don't know if I taught this yet, but when I was explaining padding, I could just say something like this. You put it on the top, left, right, bottom, and left. This does padding on all sides. If you want to do padding just on top and bottom, let's say you wanted to give it some padding top and bottom. I'm actually going to do 0 for this example. Actually, for the example, I'll put 10. So this you could put two numbers. I'm going to put 10 and 22. So this first number puts padding on the top and bottom. So it sets the padding on top and bottom to be 10. And this 22 sets padding on the right and left. No, left and right. You get what I mean. So let's see what this looks like. I think this is going to... It looks okay. It looks okay. I'd rather still have this 0. Make this 8. So that's pretty cool. I like this now. I like this. So that spans. They're not as used as often as divs, but there's still a lot of cool things you could do with them, especially when you want to select things in line. So that was it for this video. In the next video, there's going to be a challenge that you will need to use spans to accomplish, and I'll see you there.